Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Kaelen Ohm about season 2 of From on MGM Plus. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's very interesting because, first of all, welcome to From on MGM Plus, by the way.
Thank you.
And it's pretty cool because it's interesting when characters are brought up and we haven't met them. They're brought up in season 1 and everything, right? With Chrissy and everything. And then you finally meet them. It's a really cool feeling. So how much did you know about this character? Did you know this character was engaged to Chrissy, or did you know kind of a little bit less, from the audition point of view? What was that like, knowledge-wise?
Well, I knew who Marielle was. I knew who Christy was.
Yep.
I had seen the first season by the time I think had my callback.
Yep.
And yeah, so I knew the context in which she was arriving in the show. It was a very big part of the audition process.
Yeah.
And her sort of journey throughout the.
Well, the reason I asked that too is because I asked the audition question a lot on the show, and you get so many different answers. You get some answers where it's I honestly didn't know much about it. You know what I mean? And then some answers were much. So I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a very cool. By the time this interview is out, the episode's going to be out. It's a really cool reunion.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time that we've seen a reunion like this on the show. Someone from the outside world coming in and sort of filling in this idea. Obviously, Marielle's mentioned in season 1, and so it's big responsibility in some ways because I know fans of the show are real fans, and there was some ideas about Marielle, and it was cool that she got to arrive on the bus.
It's pretty crazy too because I'm a huge horror movie fan, and I'm going to tell you honestly, this show is so scary. It's probably one of the scariest TV shows I've ever watched.
It's pretty scary.
And you know what? I'm going to say this right now. I think season 2 is scarier than season 1, and I'm going to be honest with you. That's hard to do. Because season 1 was really scary, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, what I love about this show is that it's really rooted in the characters and the relationships between characters. And the horror aspect is, it comes in really unexpectedly, and it's subtle, but it's super effective. And so when it happens, it's some of my favorite horror films, like The Ring, for example, moments that you're not expecting that are really horrifying. And I think that, they just do such an incredible job.
The Ring,
Jack
the Grudge,
and Jeff, the whole team.
The Grudge was another one too. I remember interviewing the director, Takashi Shimizu, telling him thank you for the nightmares, and he was laughing because he's everyone says that all the time. You know what I mean? No, it's crazy because horror movies, I'm a 1991, right? So when I was able to go see the horror movies, I went to go see all of them, right? I went to go see House of Wax, Amityville Horror, Dark Water, all of that. You know what I mean? And it was it felt so cool to be able to go see them in the theaters when you were at that age, right? And it just stuck with me, and I just love the genre. And there's a lot of shows out there that have the moments where they're sci-fi and they're thriller, Kaelen, and they have the scary moments, right? But this is genuinely if a horror movie was a show, it would be From. And that's what I tell people to get them into it. Because I've gotten a lot of people to watch it that didn't know about it. And I tell them that, and they're you were right. This is a horror movie TV show. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, well, that's what I love about television these days, especially in the 1-hour format, is that if it's done really well, it feels like you're watching, 8 or 10 short feature films.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think From does that. And just enough that you're still interested to see what's happening next, doesn't overdo it. But I love that you feel that way.
One of my favorite things about this show, besides it being the horror movie component of it, but one of my favorite things about this show, and Lost did a very good job at this as well, right? Is there's so many characters, and I feel like everyone's got a time to shine, and everyone, not only like screen time wise, but I do feel like I learn about the characters when I see them on screen. You know what I mean by that? It's not just them showing up, getting some pancakes at the restaurant, and then going home and saying like, bye. You learn something about all the characters, including yours. Do you know what I mean by that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that points to the genius of John Griffin and Jeff Pinkner in the writing, that somehow they can follow, in this season, 18 storylines, and you don't feel like anyone's arc is lost.
No,
and
at all.
It's kind of unfathomable to me that that even works. Like, as we were shooting, a lot of us actors were like, how is this? This is crazy. There's so many of us. How is this going to happen? We kept thinking that a swath of us was,
because a bunch of,
I won't say too much, but it's,
obviously, I mean, there's a very good chance that the people watching this interview right now have at least watched season 1, you know what I mean? But obviously, like, spoiler alert, like we talked about like the reunion and everything, so I always put like spoilers and everything, but I will say, there's going to be some new faces based on how season 1 ends with the bus, right? And then you're kind of thinking of like who's going to be on that bus and everything. But yourself and all the other like new cast members, like I feel like I know your characters. You know what I mean? After 5 episodes, like I feel like
that's great.
It's a really cool from like a viewer perspective. Like you've just showed up for 5 episodes, and I feel like I've known you for a lot longer than 5 episodes.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. And it's wild that you're only halfway through the season, because
I can't wait.
The only thing I will say is it's hardly begun at that point.
Oh my God. So you watched all of season 1, right?
Yes.
So did you watch it even before? Like, did you watch it also like go back like for like research like at all? Like, was that part of it at all? Or like, was it just...
Well, I was in the audition process when I watched the show.
Okay. Okay.
Funny fact, actually, I auditioned for Tabitha's role in season 1 for Catalina Moreno's character. So I was familiar with the show when I got the audition. Sometimes you get so many in a year that you think, oh, that sounds familiar. So I looked up in my email and oh yeah, the show, and I had forgotten that it was being made. So I watched the trailer and got into the first season. And so the research for me happened sort of in the audition and callback process. Yeah. And then at the point that we started shooting, my research was in very different places that are specific to Moreno,
100%.
which I won't get into now.
It's a huge storyline. I feel bad about the storyline, if you know what I mean by that. You know what I mean? It's just kind of just seeing these characters just go on those paths where you're just like, everything will be fine, you know what I mean? And then it's not fine. Yeah. It's just really tough, you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the beauty of this show, that we're in these circumstances that are pretty unreal. Mm-hmm. But there's real people here with real stories and real histories and real relationships and real problems and all of that. And we get to see that. And I think that's why people who've seen the show love it so much, is because you really get invested in the characters,
I'm going to say this because not only is this one of my favorite TV shows out there, I'm honestly going to say, and trust me, Kaelen, you have to know this, like, even before I ran like a media outlet, like I watch a lot of TV and movies. Like I just love it. It's my passion, right? Mm-hmm. I think that the last episode of season 1 of From is one of the best, like, last episodes of a season like I've ever watched in my life. Like that, it's like I was in shock. Now, I will say this. I told Harold Perrineau this at the junket for season 2, and he said, wait until you see the ending of season 2.
I was just about to say the same thing.
He said that, but like, I want to see it now. But like, oh man, so much happened. The bus shows up, Boyd gets stuck in this like tunnel, like there's spider webs everywhere, like,
what's going on in Colony House.
Yeah, your wife should be digging that whole gym. Scared the crap out of me. Like that was terrible. That was genuinely like a scary part of that show.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, what's beautiful about the horror of this show in some ways, that moment, for example, is that you start to question, okay, is there some is there some reality being blended into the sci-fi horror aspect?
yeah.
You know, like it's just constantly moving and being questioned. And
It's really funny too because, you know, we're finding new ways to scare people. There's the traditional ways of like the jump scares and the gore, and like From has this, but From also has these kind of moments where people are scared. People are saying things that kind of make you uncomfortable or make you kind of second guess certain things, right? Like, why did that character say that? You know what I mean? It came off
yeah,
kind of as a little kind of pass by comment, but it's like, hold on. Like that made me feel a bit freaked out. You know what I mean? That's what
yeah,
I love about the genre. That's what I love about From.
yeah. No, absolutely.
I
I
know.
hear you.
I love this show. If you, I know. I'm so
I
into it.
love it.
I don't know. I was excited to get this interview confirmed because I just love the art. Like, just Christie's arc is one of my favorite arcs on the show, and just seeing
Mhm.
everything right now as just like that character, right? That like both your characters who are nurses are the ones that have to kind of stand, like have to kind of like be calm, right? If you think about it in these situations, and
Mhm.
like you kind of said, these are these are characters that everyone, like, it's real life. Like they're all going through all these things, right? And it's just a dynamic, complex storyline, and I love every minute of it with you. And you and Chloe did such an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think that's also what's so great about having real people and characters in the show is that everyone approaches the circumstances differently based on their history and experience, you know, as
Hmm.
nurses, doctors, some of it just becomes okay, time to work.
Hmm.
You know, we have to forget about why or how these things happened. It's
Hmm.
just get down to business, and other people are, you know, completely scared out of their minds because they've never even seen blood and guts before.
Hmm.
You know, Elgin's character is so beautiful to watch, Nathan Simmons, because he sort of seems so fish out of water. You know, like we all are coming from these different places and
Absolutely,
experiences. So,
for sure. And I do have to ask you very quickly, just a general question, just about content from the global perspective, because you did work on a Netflix show in the past as well. You were on Hit and Run. And I do find when you work on a show like that, like on Netflix, is that when you really kind of realize that, like, content is so global where you get a chance to kind of be on a TV show where so many people can kind of see it, basically? Because I find that's the craziest thing about content these days, how global it is, how I can watch content from all around the world. Like, I think that's my favorite part about it. That's why I feel like I watch a lot of TV shows and movies, because I have access. Do you know what I mean by that? Like the global component of content?
yeah, I mean, it's incredible nowadays how quickly we can get art out to the entire planet. You know,
Hmm.
I play music as well,
Yep.
and I put a song online and it goes to every streaming platform around the world.
Hmm.
And I mean, our generation is, you know, saw the birth of the internet. And um, I mean, there's pros and cons to it. Obviously, there's so much content out there that the fact that any one show has a fan base is incredible. So we're lucky. I feel so lucky as an artist that I've been able to be a part of projects that have been seen by so many people in so many different countries. It's such a privilege. I mean, to do what we do, also considering top globally, you know, what everything that's happening in the world right now.
Yeah, totally. It's so crazy, but it really is. Especially you mentioned like music, like it is medicine. Like it really is. Like I've been through like
Mm-hmm.
some of the toughest times, like bullying and everything. I got my growth spurt a lot later, right? So, bullying and everything. If I didn't have like there was a lot of bands that got me through tough times. There's a lot of cartoons and
Mm-hmm.
movies that got me through tough times. Like you need it. Like we
Mm-hmm.
need that stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice to hear you say that. And, you know, sometimes I think being an artist, I'm questioning, especially in today's circumstances, like, what am I doing with my time? There's people out there who are, you know, working to save oceans and forests and people all day, every day. And I think it is important that we have stories, you know. I think
Yeah.
it is important that we have art in the world because it really does heal. And whether it's a film that shines a light on, sorry, I'm in New York, there's a lot of loud traffic out there. Yeah, whether it's a story that you know, is based on a true event that shines a light on a sociopolitical thing, or it's from, and people can just, you know, get into a world and forget about their worldly dust, so to speak, then great, you know.
It's so
I think
great.
as long as we broaden our scope outside
absolutely.
of it, to be aware of everything else. But
Hey, Kaelen,
it is a beautiful
I don't
thing.
know if you knew this. You know what show I really love? From on MGM Plus.
Got it. oh, our show. You love it. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
No, I'm just so happy for you and the cast. It's so amazing. And Kaelen, thank you so much for your time. It was so great chatting with you.
Yeah, it's so great to chat with you too. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Episodes are rolling out on MGM Plus in the US, so people could check that out. It's season 2 of From. And can you plug away your Instagram, your music, like where people could follow you of the date with stuff?
Sure, yeah. I mean, my Instagram is Kaelen Ohm, and I have a music project called Amara, Amaara. It's my middle name, and I'm putting out another record this summer, July 7th.
Yeah.
So it'll come off the heels, or while the show's coming out, I suppose.
There'll be a tag team. There'll be a
lot of projects coming out this year.
No, that's awesome. Well, this has been Pop Turnative. youtube.com/Pop Turnative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Kaelen Ohm and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Turnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Pop Turnative on YouTube. Be sure to like Pop Turnative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.